In-house, we have a dedicated team of writers and researchers that put together a majority of the written content for our catalogs, and that includes not just writing the actual description, but also the background research that goes into it, from not just the library that we have on site and the extensive resources that we have, but also consulting outside mark specialists, as well as factory documentation and information that we gather from the source itself, as well as just the historic images that we can gather from national archives, including the Henry Ford and such.
In the last few years, doing a lot of research on a car's history has become increasingly important in the collector car hobby, and having that documentation there and that background research is always good. Just one as a starting point to say, here's where your car was, beginning with build sheets, beginning with heritage certificates, and growing off that with historic photos that might document where a car was and who it was connected with at some later point in time. You can really start to kind of weave a story out of that whole car's life, not that it just appeared at an auction just last year, but that before that auction it might have been racing on the Mille Amelia, it might have been shown at the New York Auto Show, it could have been a car owned by a celebrity or had some other famous provenance, and it's really important to illustrate all of that so that buyers know exactly what they're getting.
We still focus a lot on hard copy materials. We are ever assembling a larger and larger library to help us out, all the important marked texts, books by important historians, things that you cannot find on the internet, and there are still things that you can't find on the internet. Very often it isn't even in a book, not just not online, but not even in a book. You have to actually find the people, which we use different online resources, old phone books. We do dig back and find people who used to own these cars and talk to them as often as possible, oftentimes going back again several decades. The research that we do will lead us to past owners of a car, as well as present owners, who very often have done their own research and really done some of our work for us in digging out history, keeping their own files, keeping records. We also find the people that have basically been tracking these cars for 50 to 60 years. Anybody who has kept the records for all of these years is an important and valued resource to us, and we use them all as often as we possibly can. We also research back to factory information when available, talking to resources at original factories that have kept their build records through the years. And that's been invaluable as well in seeing exactly how these cars were originally built and delivered from the factory.
Part of my role here at RM Auctions also involves archiving and taking care of the historical documents that we have on site, as well as at auctions. So part of the process involves digitizing all those materials, but we're also ensuring that we understand where the documents have been, where they're going, and where they are now. And it's very important to understand the historical part of these documents, because we want to know who's had them in the past, where they've been in the past, and that all contributes to part of the history of the car. Digitizing and taking care of the historical documents is also going to be important when we're on site at auctions, and we have this new program called Access the Knowledge. Anybody who's interested in the historical documents can come to us and they can see them firsthand and get to know what they mean and why they're important, and you can actually get your hands on some of those documents to see yourself. So part of my role as archivist also involves preserving these historical documents, which is very important because we want to make sure they're available for future generations and for future enthusiasts. And it's up to us to make sure that they are safe and sound and that they can be accessed by anybody in the future.
I'd say one of the biggest instances of pride is that our catalog isn't just simply a catalog that's discarded and useless after the sale. People can refer back to our catalogs years after the fact and see what did we say about a car, how did it exist in that point in time, and continue to refer to our catalogs as an actual research reference. Once a car is consigned, that's when we all really get on board. And there's a number of us in the team that specialize in certain areas, be it somebody that knows the historian or register of a certain car, or going to archives and looking for historic images of that car, be it at a certain race or at an international auto show somewhere. We have a number of people that can dig up information on them, and we go to all sorts of sources so we can understand when was this car originally built, when was it first delivered, what were the colors, the engine number, etc., etc. And so we can really put all that information together and build a comprehensive look and history of a car. We rely heavily on condition reports of cars as well.
In order to produce a condition report, a car specialist like myself will take a car out for a test drive, crawl underneath it, make notes, take photographs, and basically provide the client with every piece of information that should be crucial to influencing their bidding decision one way or another. This involves cosmetic condition reports, mechanical reports, documenting numbers and various bits and pieces that may prove to a car to be more or less authentic, so that the client has a peace of mind when they're raising their paddle about what they're really bidding on.
Probably the most interesting car that I've reached out to in recent times with my job here at RM was the 1930 Cadillac V16 Roadster from the John Moyer collection, which will be at Hershey this year. We were able to get the original build record for that car from Cadillac, showing its delivery new to the Whittall family of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, a very prominent milling family in that area. That particular car, of course, has been in Mr. Moyer's family since 1933, continuously. So it's been very interesting to see how it's changed and how it's been maintained over the last 81 years. We also, of course, deal with a lot of clubs. I'm a life member of the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Club, a member of AACA, a member of the Chandler Cleveland Motor Club. So I like getting involved in the different organizations and, again, meeting the people that in many cases have been an enthusiast of these cars for decades. As a young enthusiast, it's always very important to me to get to talk to these people that have been here before me. It's part of keeping the past moving along. I always tell people that I'm not really an historian, I'm not an expert in any means, I'm just a person keeping the flame alive.